As the world struggles with bringing Russia to heel, President Biden sends up a flare over cyber worries. We'll talk with Homeland Security Chairman Gary Peters. And from the pandemic to the Great Resignation to surging inflation and now a war, how do we judge the state of Detroit and Southeast Michigan? Today is Sunday, March 27, 2021, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. We come to you this morning in the middle of March Madness, but this year it refers to more than the NCAA basketball tournament. We've been watching for weeks now absolute madness in Ukraine. It is a Shakespearean kind of madness into which Vladimir Putin has descended. He keeps changing the rationale for his horrific invasion. Some of those within his star chamber have abandoned him. His troops are confused and hungry, and certainly we are watching war crimes committed on a nearly daily basis. It is all madness. If the estimates are correct, Russia has now lost about as many troops in a few weeks of fighting in Ukraine as they lost in 10 years of fighting in Afghanistan. Now, if this was a roulette table, you'd probably still pile your chips on Russia, but the added wrinkle of desperation is never a good thing to add to madness. And that's the struggle right now, trying to imagine how this ends. And to be more specific, how does it end well? No doubt that was a theme in those NATO meetings in Brussels this week. Before leaving for Europe, President Biden warned us that Russia could be readying cyber attacks that would move the fighting into a new sphere. This morning, we're going to talk with the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, Michigan's Gary Peters. We're also going to talk about a new report out from the Detroit Regional Chamber on the state of our region. If the pandemic wasn't enough of a complication, now we had a surge of prices on pretty much everything. What does it mean for our future? It's all today on Flashpoint. The fighting going on between the Ukrainian armies and people of Ukraine and the Russian army, of course, goes on thousands of miles from us, and yet the ramifications for those of us here at home are manyfold. And for that reason, I've been wanting for a couple of weeks now to have on Michigan Senator Gary Peters, who is the chair of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security. He's good enough to join us from Washington this morning. Senator, always good to have you on the program. Let me start with, as the president was leaving for his trip to Europe, he was also advising us that he thought that we might be on the brink of cyber concerns from Russia. Give me a little bit of the lay of the land with what you think our domestic worries are right now.
Well, certainly we have to have our guard up. We know that the Russians are actively engaged in cyber attacks against the United States on a regular basis. They are constantly hitting systems, probing systems, not just the Russian government, also criminal entities that operate out of Russia, with, quite frankly, with a wink and a nod from Mr. Putin, that are engaged in attacks in our businesses. But given what's happening in Ukraine, we expect that activity to ramp up. Quite frankly, we're a little surprised we haven't seen a ramp up of some of that activity in Ukraine, for example. But we need to be prepared, as the president mentioned. And that's why it's critical that we have our guard up to the fullest extent possible.
If we've been watching what we certainly seems to be a struggle for the Russian military, everything from the way that supply chains are working to the way that actual command is working. They've lost a number of generals. If they are struggling on the military front, I don't think we expect them to have as much trouble struggling on the cyber front. This is something they seem very good at doing, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, they've been actively engaged in this space for some time, and it's a little curious we haven't seen more of that. Some folks are speculating because they have their hands full on the ground with what's called kinetic attacks, actual bombs exploding and tanks moving, that they may be preoccupied from that. But I would not find any comfort in that. We have to be ready. We are also assisting the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian military, because we expect to see a ramp up of activities there as well. But certainly that is why it was important for us to move things like legislation that I was able to pass to require critical infrastructure to actually report to our critical infrastructure security agency when there is a cyber attack. Right now, because of a variety of reasons, we believe that we probably only know about 25 to 30% of the attacks that we're actually receiving in this country. And that's unacceptable. We have to have a better sense of that. And, when you go into war, one of the first things in warfare is you have to have situational awareness. You have to know where the enemy is, what sort of weapons they have. You have to know where you are, what sort of defenses in order to defend. And that same strategy, that same necessity is in the cyber realm as well.
Yeah, and we have to worry about what the Pentagon refers to as a crisis of imagination. What are the things that we haven't thought of? Cyber is one worry for us domestically. What are the other ones that you have your eye on and that we all should be paying attention to?
Well, cyber is the number one threat related to what's happening in Russia. But clearly, from a homeland security perspective, we also have to worry about things such as domestic terrorism. We have seen an increase of domestic terrorist attacks in recent years. We still need to be focused on foreign terrorism. That's nothing you can take your eye off. But if you look at the terrorist attacks that we've seen in recent years, they've all been homegrown. They've been domestic. And unfortunately, many of those attacks have been focused on places of worship. That's why I was in town just the previous week with Secretary Mayorkas talking about our nonprofit security grants that is offered through FEMA, something I've worked to increase the amount of resources available in grants that our places of worship can apply for to make their sanctuaries safer for folks who are going there to pray.
Senator, let's move now to, I'm wondering where you think our level and ability to help is right now. I think that the expectation from so many was that the Russian army was going to run through Ukraine like a hot knife through butter. It has been extraordinary to watch the resolve and the resiliency of the Ukrainian people and their armies. They've even been able to take back some territory. The longer this goes on, do you feel any change in your calculus of what our ability is to do to help? And does that help become, in a way, more critical as we listen to President Zelensky begging for more assistance?
Actually, it does look like this is going to go longer than folks had anticipated, and it's directly the result of the incredible courage and the tenacity of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian military, and their effective use of weapons that the United States, as well as our allies, have provided to the Ukraine military, particularly in their anti-armor and air-to or ground-to-air defense systems. So this could drag on much longer, and that's going to be a tremendous stalemate for Mr. Putin. Clearly, he miscalculated. But the other thing that we've got to be focused on is the humanitarian crisis. We're seeing a humanitarian crisis, something we haven't seen since World War II, from the refugees that are pouring across the border to escape the tragedy of this horrible war that Mr. Putin started, as well as Ukrainians who continue to be in the country. So that's going to be a continuing focus for me and my colleagues to make sure the resources are there to help the Ukrainian people.
Absolutely. And of course, we've got a huge Ukrainian population here in Michigan, as well as Polish. We're watching so many wrinkle effects that are impacting us locally here on this. But can you see any circumstance under which you would support a no-fly zone over Ukraine, helping get the MiG jets, anything more that some people are fearing would be a bridge too far?
Well, I think it's important for us to make sure we're listening to our military advisors as to what is the best course of action. Certainly, a no-fly zone is a very complicated thing, and it basically means that we are engaged with Russians. In order to put forward a no-fly zone, the first thing you have to do is take out air defense systems to protect U.S. aircraft that are enforcing that no-fly zone, and that means you're attacking folks on the ground. You will kill Russian soldiers in the process. Some of these air defense systems aren't even in Ukraine. They may be in Russia proper. That would require going into Russia proper. So clearly that is a very significant escalation. Right now, I believe our best course is to make sure the Ukrainian military has the resources they need. And you look at how effective they have been. Javelin missiles, for example, have been devastating against the Russian armor vehicles. and they know how to use those very effectively, and they have been absolutely incredible to the point now we're actually seeing counteroffensives, not just defensive positions, but they have actually been able to do a counteroffensive, which is not something we would have anticipated.
When it comes to sanctions, there have been those criticizing President Biden for what has been a very slow walk from 0 to 60, and that some argue we should have been at 100 miles an hour from the get-go. Why in the world do we keep adding sanctions when we should be using everything possible at our disposal from the very starting gate?
Well, we did go very quick, and I think what the most important use, or the biggest strength, I should say, the strongest the sanctions will be, is when you get the world community involved in sanctions, and you're bringing everybody along makes them incredibly powerful. And we did see that. We saw to the buildup with before the invasion. There was a release of classified information, intelligence that normally wouldn't be released that early, to show the world community what Mr. Putin was up to. And when he did cross the border, you saw a very quick reaction and swift reaction from our allies. Allies that you wouldn't even expect that would be engaged in sanctions. Switzerland, for example, that has a long, long history of neutrality. We are strong when the world democracies all work together. Those are powerful sanctions. We now have unprecedented sanctions, and we're going to continue to push those forward, bring the Russian economy to its knees. But it happens most effectively when you have the world's democracies coming together and saying, we're going to stand up to this authoritarian, this dictatorship, and democracy and freedom will prevail in the end.
Senator, I've got a little less than a minute left, and I wanted to make sure we got to one other topic. We saw what seems to be, some would describe it as rare bipartisan support for your bill that you hope will finally, it's on its way to the president's desk here, will finally get the post office right-sized and on a better footing. I've only got about 30 seconds left. Your thoughts?
Well, just excited to get that through. It was 15 years in the making to do some common sense reforms. I've been working on it for the last couple of years. We brought it together and passed the Senate with 79 votes, and will now put the Postal Service on much sounder financial footing to allow them to invest for the future.
Postal Reform Act. Senator Peters, good to talk to you. Thanks you so much for your time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You bet. Quick break. Back with more on Flashpoint right after this.
DTE wants to help customers. We never want to see our customers go without food, shelter, or energy. We all know someone that's in need of assistance. We have funding throughout the state of Michigan that's available to assist with energy costs. The best thing you can do, if you're in need of help, contact us immediately. 1-800-477-4747 or via our website, dteenergy.com/help.
At Independent Carpet One Floor & Home, we're proud to support the Big Three. For over a century now, the hardworking men and women of the Big Three have kept America moving. To show our appreciation, for a limited time, all Ford, GM, and Chrysler employees get an extra $100 off and we'll pay your sales tax. Hurry, offer ends soon. Independent Carpet One Floor & Home in Westland, supporting Michigan auto workers and proud to be your flooring retailer of choice.
Go to Dick's Stop for a Dodge.
This is your last chance to save during the final days of the Jeep Celebration event. Only at Dick Scott Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lease the 2022 Jeep Gladiator Sport 4x4 starting at $299 a month, or the 2022 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab 4x4 for only $419 a month. It all ends March 31st at 9 p.m. So hurry into Dick Scott Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plymouth.
When you buy a Dodge from Dick Scott.
Up, all right, here we go.
What are these students doing?
So different.
And how could this help their mental health?
It's emotional for me, it's emotional for them.
Monday morning at 6:30, the unique way one local school is supporting mental health.
Oh, it's very uncomfortable.
The way that it all happens, well, it's something you probably have never seen before.
And why they hope other schools will do it too.
It definitely helps.
Monday on Local 4 News Today and streaming on Local 4 Plus.
Welcome back. It has been that time of year. We had the State of the Union, State of the State, State of the City. Now comes the State of the Region, which of course is the purview of the Detroit Regional Chamber. Very tricky time to figure out the highs and lows against a backdrop which is a bit like a funhouse mirror. only it isn't any fun. Let's talk about it with the CEO of the Detroit Regional Chamber. Sandy Baru is here. Entrepreneur Nicholas Rambus, whose latest venture is Hush, which is a tech security company. He's here as well, and so is Daniel Howe, senior editor and business columnist for the Detroit News. Sandy, I want to start by asking you about trying to assemble and interpret data at a time like this. I wouldn't want to try and figure out the average wind speed in Michigan in the middle of a tornado. And that's a little bit like what you're trying to do right now, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was a little bit like what my graduate professor in economics said, that sometimes there are outliers in data, but sometimes they're just out and outliers. And that's really what it is. I mean, it is a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
And you can look at this data through any number of lenses and paint an incredibly positive picture about where Michigan and our region is, or an incredibly negative picture using the same set of data. It's a little bit like one of those kaleidoscopes we had when we were kids.
Your two fellow people here at the round table shaking your heads at both of those things. Yes, we can make this however we want. So let's start with what you thought. What was the most worrisome thing that you've come across, and what's the most promising thing you came across?
The most worrisome thing, and it's one of the three headlines out of here, is that our challenges prior to COVID are our challenges today. Educational attainment, workforce participation, those are our big challenges then, and they are now. The best thing, and that's another headline out of here, is that Michigan has withstood this economic challenge, this pandemic period, far better than A, we would have expected, and B, the rest of the nation. And we've never seen that in Michigan before. You know the old line about Michigan. When the rest of the country gets a cold, we get the flu. Not this time, buddy. We actually outperformed and did quite well. And the third headline is that the way consumers feel has nothing to do with how consumers are behaving.
Nicholas, as an entrepreneur, this is very much your business, trying to decide whether things feel positive or negative at a certain time. You were shaking your head at both him saying things went really well and there were some things that weren't as good. What are you seeing overall?
So much the same, right? We are excited about the ability to build a business here in Michigan, right? It's one of the things in the report it mentions that there's not enough entrepreneurial activity, right, in the region.
Yeah.
That said, in 2021, the numbers were good, right? I think it was top 20 or so in the country for new businesses that were started. We're part of that, so we're excited about what we see so far.
Where are your worry spots then as you try, though, to think about expanding and moving around?
Sure, talent. It's all about finding people, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue. Continues to be. Everyone I talk to is looking for the right people.
You know, apparently America's got talent, I hear. At least that's what NBC tells me, Daniel. But this has been the theme that I can't remember the last time we weren't talking about it.
And I think it really connects to what I think is coming. I've been spending a lot of time running our auto team and working on a lot of the electrification, the pivot to electrification. I'm not sure how well prepared we are for the transition. And I think that gets back to the talent. It gets back to educational attainment. And there was a lot of hand wringing back last fall when Ford said they were going to make an $11.4 billion investment in electrification in Tennessee and in Kentucky, and not here.
Right.
GM is doing that now, but we have no guarantees and no claim that we're going to get more of that investment. We'll get some, but there's a lot percolating, and I don't know how well positioned we are for that. The other thing I would say, I had the same takeaway that Sandy did. It's so remarkable that this state went through one of the most incredible economic shocks of any of our lifetimes, and frankly, that its leading industries didn't run into some really serious difficulties.
Especially,
they managed their way through it.
And when we talk about chip shortages, what industry has been hit harder than the auto industry?
The auto industry is getting whacked harder than just about any industry. I mean, then you add the war in Ukraine. You've got a thing like neon. You didn't even know what neon was. Well, 50% of the neon comes out of Ukraine. And what do you need neon for? To etch semiconductors. So there may be and there's been the suppliers have hedged and they've got it. But if we're 6 months down the road and this thing hasn't calmed down, they're going to have more problems. So they're getting whacked continually.
Sandy, I'm really trying to. I'm a little lost in trying to figure out what the new normal is and what will eventually.
Welcome to our world.
Exactly right. So I see things like we've always used downtown retail as a kind of EKG when it comes to Detroit, and we know what a flat line looks like. It was that way for a long time. We've had some very high-profile retail closures now along Woodward Avenue. We've had some high-profile restaurant closures. And I'm thinking to myself, is that, like it always was, a sign of economic health? Or is that, toughen up, Buttercup? This is the world of people working from home, it's Amazon, and it's Uber Eats.
Yeah. Well, certainly, what we're seeing in closures, especially in cores, like it can be the Detroit core, downtown Troy, or any other urban area, you are seeing business closures because of just that. I mean, people are staying home. I mean, in my office, in my building, when I'm in the office, I can shoot a cannon down a lot of the halls, even today, and not hit anyone. But here's the thing. One, another sign for optimism is the incredible new business starts. Those numbers are off the charts. We've never seen them any higher. During the Great Recession, we were upside down in business births and deaths. We're seeing that. Restaurants, you mentioned restaurants. Those restaurants that closed, those entrepreneurs who started those restaurants are already starting their new ones. So I think we're in the middle of a churn, not in a solid state flat line.
Nicholas, you were saying before we started here that you've got 20-some new employees. You've only met 2 of them face-to-face.
That's right.
New reality, or is that gradually changing now as we come back out of our caves?
So it's gradually changing. We had our first day back in the office last week, right? So we are seeing people really want to get back to office, not 5 days a week. It's going to be 2 or 3. But even going downtown, right, we're beginning to see that kind of activity level where it's not, right, an entire ghost town in the office. There are people who want to get in.
But there's a lot of people who want to work at home now, right? Expectation.
They do, right? But they're beginning to come out, given the weather. When we're going to see a lot more activity soon.
It's interesting. The younger people, I think, they like the flexibility. I certainly like the flexibility, but I spent a lot of time working out of my office at home for a lot of years. But we have reporters that have worked for us for 2 years that have never spent a day in the office. Ever. And I think the way we're going to work...
You're sure they're out there somewhere.
But I think that the point Sandy's making about restaurants and other businesses and what we're talking about the workspace, they're all interrelated. I mean, we're working on a story right now on dry cleaners, of all things. His expectation is that 30% of all dry cleaners are, if they haven't already shut down, they will shut down because there are fewer people that are dressed like this, need this kind of stuff. Yep. They're more often dressed like this. They've been dressing like this for 2 years, and and our economy, it's going to play its way out in the economy.
Well, good riddance. The dry cleaner shrunk all my clothes.
This great, whatever you want to call it, the great resignation, the great reconsideration, whatever it is, it does tell us something that we've long suspected, especially about younger workers. They don't have the loyalty to their employers that I think employers over decades had grown to expect from their workers. That has huge implications.
Yeah, but loyalty is earned, and and what drives employee behavior has changed over the decades. I mean, Daniel and I are old enough, not you, Nicholas, that when we got the assignment from our bosses that you're moving to Nashville, we'd say, great, I've always wanted to move to Nashville. The next thing we do is we look at a map and say, where the hell is Nashville? I mean, new workers today aren't going to do that. So employers have to be really flexible. Today's young workers, they work hard, they're innovative, but they want to work on their terms. We as employers need to figure out what they want and make sure that we're providing that balance between what we as a business and our clients need and want and what our employees want.
And you have to trust them.
Yeah, exactly right.
And trust is earned. If in our business, if you're working remotely and you don't answer your phone and you don't answer your text and you don't answer an email, that's a real problem. But as long
really knows what you're up
but
to
as long as you do, and I know you're there, and I know you can deliver, that's what matters. It's not where you're sitting. Because we've run a newsroom at the Detroit News, and we're not the only one. Everybody has done it remotely for 2 years and done a lot of really good work and had huge readership. But we know how to do it.
But
these people have to need
I'm very curious, Nicholas, about whether or not people have the same connect. You talked about, you're seeing everybody over Zoom. It's different, and it's you're not having the same conversations in the hallway or at a cubicle, wherever it might be. What are the implications for you?
Yeah, so what we're finding is people, as they advance their career, they want to get back to the office because they need that mentorship, right? To your point, you started your careers, you had someone looking after you, someone guiding you. Those folks don't have that, and so they're looking to come back as a result of that. Yeah, again, it won't be the 5 days a week, but they're looking for what we call ceremonies, right? When you come in and we have a company gathering or weekly coffee, something else which creates that connectivity and that human access, those are still needed, right? I'm not sure if you guys have those as well, but we find the young folks very much want it.
And what executives are looking for, and the reason why at least the smart ones want them back, is not for efficiency, it's not for monitoring, it's for collaboration, it's for innovation, it's for driving some quality. Those are the things that have been a challenge during the Zoom.
Don't underestimate somebody like General Motors, which says it's 2 words: work appropriately. Make your own decisions.
Work appropriately. Yes. Terrific advice. Thanks. I would say you've got the glass 3/4 full right now for Detroit and the region, it sounds like that.
I'd rather be where we are today than a lot of other regions, right?
Makes great sense.